Hello everyone, welcome back to the Riverwood Aquatics YouTube channel. Today we've got something quite exciting. It's time to rescape the Oase ScaperLine 100 aquarium. This was last set up probably over a year ago, getting towards that way, by George Farmer and some friends. We did a really nice scape in it, but it's time for something new, and it's my turn to scape it this time. It's been a little while since I've done a tank, so I thought I'd do something in the shop. So we're going to go for something sort of a nature vibe, something that's quite closely replicating nature, or sort of my interpretation of nature. So we're going to have a look through some Hardscape and try and decide on what plants we're going to use, and hopefully create something that's going to grow in and look really, really nice. So this is the aquarium. It's an Oase ScaperLine 100. There's 100 centimeters by 50 by 50. A really high quality, high-end aquarium. You can see the finish is immaculate. This is a used aquarium, so it's not quite as clean as it once was, but you can still see how nice the silicone work is. We've got these 45-degree mitered corners here for the join, the strength, and it just looks amazing. We've got the Oase ScaperLine cabinet. This is the grey finish, which is really nice, modern design. Now you see the Oase thermometer there, which is really nice. So yeah, this is a really high-end aquarium. Very excited to scape it today. And it looks even better when it's in a house, in your home, in your living room or dining room, wherever. And it's a real feature to your house. The light we'll be using is a Chihiros WRGB2 Pro 90. This is a really high-end WRGB light. App controllable, very, very powerful. We'll grow any plants we want in here. Extendable to, I think, 110 centimeters, I think. But it's best if you keep it for like 100 or 90 centimeters. You can also buy light hanging kits, so you can suspend the light above the tank if you want to. Very, very nice light. Filter we'll be running on this tank is the Oase Biomaster Thermo 600. We've got one pre-cycled from the previous scape, so that's going to really help us get the tank established quickly with hopefully minimal algae. So really good filter, built-in heater, pre-filter, very easy to clean, very reliable, nice and quiet. Spare parts readily available. My favourite aquarium filter. So thinking about layout composition for this tank, like I said, it's going to be a very natural, close to nature, or my interpretation of nature, aquascape. So we're going to have some rounded stones. I've got some Scottish boulder stones. I've got a couple of really nice ones which I've taken from home. So they've already got that nice little bit of green algae on them, which looks really great in a natural planted tank. So we're going to go for those. We may choose to add some wood, maybe a log, like a fallen bit of wood that's coming off the bank and come to rest up against the stones. But first we're going to think about the substrate layer. So let's talk about that. Right, so substrate, we're going to have some really heavy stones in here. So I want something to raise the stones up slightly, but also keep them from touching the glass, to help protect that glass a little bit. So I'm going to go for Volcano Mineral. JBL Volcano Mineral. It's like crushed lava stone. So one of the benefits of this is it holds its shape really well. So if you make a mound of it, sometimes if you use soil or sand, that mound can just sort of flatten out. With the Volcano Mineral, it holds that shape, so your hardscape will remain in the position that you placed it. Also is really good for beneficial bacteria. Stops any sort of dead spots in the substrate. Really good for the aquarium, keeps it clean and clear, and good for the fish. So JBL Volcano Mineral is going in first, just to build our raised areas for the hardscape. So JBL Volcano Mineral is quite dusty, and it is recommended that you wash it before you put it in the tank. Give it a good rinse in the bucket, pour the water out, give it a good rinse again. I tend to not do this too often because a lot of the time it's under the substrate, so the dust tends to get trapped under there. So this instance, I'm not going to bother doing that, but if you're worried about it clouding your water, give it a good rinse first. So let's get this bag in. We've got a 9-litre bag here. I think we're going to need all of it. Okay, so we're just going to use our hand to maneuver this into place. This is going to act as a real nice support for our stones. It's going to hold the stones at the right angle as well. So sometimes if you put a stone in and you want it to sit a certain way, it can often just sort of fall where it wants to go. But with this, it's a solid base. So if you want to rock at an angle, you can really get that angle that you really want to get. So you want to make sure at the front of the glass there's none showing. It's going to present it really nicely when you're looking at the front of the aquarium. Okay, so the volcano mineral's in. You can see we're going to place our main stone sort of 1/3 of the way along the tank. That's going to be our feature. You don't want it too bang in the middle unless you're doing an island style scape. You don't want it right at the far edge. Nice sort of 1/3 of the way along roughly, and you can build the scape around that main feature stone. Here is our main feature stone. This is a huge Scottish boulder. It's got some really nice details and crevices in, but still got that nice rounded finish. It's very heavy, so I'm not looking forward to lowering this into the tank because this is a high tank. It's also on a plinth, so even higher. But hopefully we can do it without dropping it. Okay, I don't think that's too bad. We're just going to do a little bit of turning around, make sure it's got the really nicest angles. If I bring the light forward, you can see. So the first stone's in, the main stone. I managed to get it in without dropping it. So we're going to build up with some slightly smaller stones, or quite a lot smaller stones, around the base of this one. Maybe one here, a couple there, and just gradually sort of lower it like it's a mound of rocks. This kind of, as the water's gone down, the smaller rocks have kind of nestled in amongst the big rock. That's the kind of thing we're going to go for. And then we may experiment with some wood in here, but the rocks are going to be the main feature. So let's go find some more rocks. So I'm going to put this one in, but it's probably a bit too large. The key with this is you've got to keep experimenting. I mean, that second one I put in, I'm pretty happy with. We're going to have another slightly smaller one in the middle there. We're going to have one this side, and we're just going to sort of slowly build it up until we're happy with the composition of the layout. All right, so we've got our main rock layout here. I'm pretty happy with it. You've got to try and visualize how it's going to look when it's all planted up. You've got long plants growing out from the back. You've got a nice sand substrate with some plants in the front as well. You've got some detailing plants in amongst the rock. It's trying to vision the finished aquascape after several weeks of growing in. Obviously, if you want to do a really intricate hardscape, amazing, take your time over it. But I'm really happy with this. The hardscape kind of speaks for itself. It's really big, bold. There's going to be lots of little hidey places for the fish to go. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. So I may still tweak a few little bits and bobs here and there, but for now we're going to move on to the substrate. So the substrate we're going to be using to feed the plants, so we want a nice nutrient rich substrate. If the plants are going to be healthy, they're going to want something to feed on at the roots. So we're going to be using Tropica Plant Substrate. This is designed to be used as a complete base layer, and then you cap it with fine gravel or sand to keep the nutrients under the substrate layer. So we're going to be using a 5-litre bag. It might be enough, we might need to open another one. But we're going to put this in, and then we're going to build up with a layer of silver sand. So we've got the substrate layer in. I may just put another bag. We've got some empty space at the back here, and we want to make sure those background plants, they're going to be fast growers, heavy root feeders, have got enough nutrients to sustain the tank for its lifetime. We only want a small amount at the front. This is all going to be leveled out nice and neat. If you imagine, you're always looking at the front of the tank, so you want that layer at the bottom to be nice straight line along the front. And once we've got some more substrate in, we're going to cap it with sand. So you can see at the back here, it's fairly deep. I may level that out a little bit. I want about 1 inch, 2 inches. And at the front, not much at all, but this is going to be a nutrient layer. This isn't to build the substrate. We're going to build it with sand up to about 1 inch at the front, maybe a little bit lower. And then we're going to plant our foreground plants into that. Okay, so the substrate layer is down. That's the plant substrate layer. Next is going to be the sand layer. So this is going to cap off that soil on the bottom, stop it from clouding the water and releasing all its nutrients into the water column. It's also going to look really nice and provide a suitable rooting medium for the plants. So we're using silver sand, which is a really sort of budget-friendly sand. It's a nice natural colour. It looks really nice. But eventually, I'm hoping that you won't really be able to see the sand because the plants are just going to sort of cover it. You'll still be able to see a little bit, but we're going for sort of carpeting plants. It's going to be quite heavily planted. Eventually, you may not even see some of the rocks that are in there, but you'll see the taller ones poking through, which is hopefully going to look really nice. So let's start adding the silver sand. So this is now several days later. We ran out of time and we just decided to get all the planting done on another day. So the dryscape, the hardscape has been set up for a few days in the shop. Lots of people have said they really like it, so I'm really chuffed about that. Like I said before, quite a simple layout, but it's going to be nice and natural, loads of plants in there, carpeting plants. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to move on to the planting. I'll show you what plants we've decided to go for. Again, quite easy plants to grow, nothing really demanding, but we're going to have good lighting and also CO2 injection to really help them along, get the best growth out of them, best coloration, and hopefully low algae, easy to maintain. So let's get started. Okay, so we have selected the plants and I've just laid them out here to make it sort of easier to show where I'm going to put these. We're mostly using Tropica 1-2 grow pots. These are a really good money-saving way of getting lots of plants into your aquarium. So they may look small, but inside these pots there's loads of individual little plants which you can separate out, break up and spread around the aquarium. They're also pest-free, pest snail-free, they're algae-free. It's obviously grown in really controlled conditions, so you know that you're getting really healthy, clean plants to start off your tank. So all these plants, all these ones in the 1-2 grow pots are Littorela uniflora. This is a foreground plant. It's like a grassy type plant. It sends out runners or stolons, which then go through the substrate and then grow additional plants as they grow along. So this will form a sort of lawn or a carpet across the front of the tank. Hopefully a nice sort of lightish green colour. So the rocks will be sort of protruding, the tops of the rocks will be protruding from the top of the sort of the grass lawn, which I think will look really nice. And the other plants we've got here, we've got some of the smaller crypt varieties. So we've got crypt parva and Cryptocoryne albida brown and spiralis red. So in these pots you'll probably get several plants out of each of one of these pots. We can, once we've removed the rock wool and split each individual plant, we'll probably get a few, but these are just to act as like accents in between, sort of in front of the larger rocks but behind the carpeting plants, just to give it a more natural feel and break up the colours of the foreground plants. We've also got a hydrocotyl tripartita, which I think I'm going to wedge just pretty much where it is there, so it's going to sort of cascade down in between those two rocks. It's going to lighten it up, bring a nice light green accent and a different texture as well, because we've got a lot of sort of grassy type plants, so I think that's going to look quite nice there. We may split a bit up and put some in between other crevices, but we'll see how we go. The background, I'm going to plant lots of Vallis spiralis red. So that's going to be almost like a wall of Vallisneria along the back of the tank. I've got a lot of it which I've taken from my tank at home, just reusing those plants, so they should go straight in and give it a nice mature effect quite quickly. I'm also just in front of that going to plant some lily bulbs, so we'll get some lily pads going up to the top of the surface, which will give it a nice natural appearance as well. So I think once this is grown in, this could be a bit of a slow burner to get the carpet plants to really fill in and be at their best. Littorela isn't one of the fastest growing plants for carpeting, but it is a really nice plant. And that's going to help with maintenance as well, because I want it to be reasonably low maintenance. I don't want to be constantly in there trimming plants. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good choice, but we could take a few weeks before it's starting to look its best. Okay, so I think we're about to get ready for planting. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly show you how to prepare one of these 1-2 grow pots. There's lots of videos out there for this, and I'll probably make a dedicated one myself. But just quickly for the sake of this video, so we've got a pot of Littorela here. You can see inside there's this sort of nutrient-rich liquid which helps grow the plant. I'm just going to open the pot, pour that liquid out. So you don't want too much of that going into the tank, especially in the early stages. That's a lot of nutrients and we could get some algae issues. So when you get the plant out, you'll find that it's one long runner of plants. You can see there's lots of individual little plants. Each one of these is an individual little plant. So you could be really sparing with this and use one pot to cover large areas. We want it quite densely planted from the start, so we're going to use several pots. So you can kind of like gently untangle it, and you can see all the individual little plants. You could go round with these and be really careful with scissors and snip each individual one, but I'm going to be a little bit more brutal, but which you can be. The plant won't mind, and you can just break each individual little plant off. If you get two, you can sort of clump them together like this, and then that'll just in the frame, that'll just plant into the substrate. So it's best to unclump the plant, get them all ready first prior to planting, See, this is an example of the runner. You could use each individual little plant, look like this, and plant that. But we're going to plant in sort of little bunches like this. Right, so before I start planting, because we've got this sand in here, I'd normally use soil, but we're going for this sand over plant substrate method today. I'm going to make sure that the sand is just dampened down slightly. This is going to help the plants stay in the sand when I plant them. Hopefully grip the roots a bit better. There we go, and also you want to make sure that your plants are kept nice and wet as well. Obviously when you're planting it can take quite a long time, and you want to make sure that those plants don't dry out. Wetting the substrate will help in that process as well. Okay, so when planting a plant, hopefully this can focus, I normally try and grab the root at the base, at the top of the root and the base of the plant, and try and make sure that there's no leaves that are going to interfere with your tweezers when you pull them out. Because if you think you're going to open the tweezers and pull them away from the plant, if there's a leaf or something in the way that's going to catch them, then you're going to pull the plant with you when you remove the tweezer. So just carefully take a bit of time to make sure you're pinching it in the right place, and then we'll push it down towards the substrate. Push it in, don't worry about going too deep. You can always brush a little bit of sand over. And as you can see, we've got a lot to do. The Littorela uniflora is in foreground plants, so I normally try to plant the lowest plants first. So you start at the foreground and work your way back. If you imagine we planted the vallis first, it would all be drooping over everything, we wouldn't be able to properly reach the foreground plants. So it's a good idea to plant the foreground plants first. So now we're working back, we've got the crypts, we've got crypt brown, spiralis red and crypt parva. So what I've done with these, I've removed the rock wool, and you've just got a bare root plant. What you can do as well, you can trim off the base of the roots so they're a bit easier to plant, and it also encourages new root growth as well. So like we said, we're going to plant at the base of the rocks, in between, maybe some in between the carpeting plants, just to give it different heights, different textures, different colours, and make it look more wild, more natural. So we're going to start with the parva. There's lots of individual little plantlets in that pot for the parva. So I've broken it up, but I am going to put them still in like little clumps of 2 or 3. That one's separated. The crypts are quite an easy plant to grow. They're good for most setups. They don't require overly bright light or loads of CO2 or anything like that. So they're great for beginner setups as well as the more high-tech plant tanks. You tend to get the best coloration and the best growth from good lighting and good CO2. These smaller varieties are a bit slower growing than the large ones, like the Wentiais. Which is good because it means less maintenance. So like I said, I bought some Vallis from home. This has been growing really well in my tank at home, so I've got loads of it. So I'm making use. I've got loads of individual little plants of Vallis. This is going to plant all the way along the back and create a lovely kind of wall of Vallis, making it really deep. Somewhere for timid fish to hide. It grows really quickly, so this could be one of the more high maintenance plants in the tank. It sends out runners, and we'll probably end up with Vallis popping out at the front. We can keep that in check by trimming off the runner and then just removing the plant whilst it's still small. If you let it get too big and you try and uproot it, you're going to pull all the substrate up and there could be issues. So if you see Vallis coming up where you don't want it, get on top of it really quickly, and then you don't have to deal with the aftermath of pulling up a huge root from the substrate. Okay, so let's start planting the Vallis. So the planting is pretty much done. We're just going to add some hydrocotyle tripartita in a few select places. As you can see, there's still quite a few gaps in the sand, but this is going to spread out, all knit together and form a lovely carpet. That's the plan. We've got the crypts at the base of the rocks. Again, they'll spread out, but quite slowly. At the back, we've got Vallis. We haven't gone too crazy with the amount because I know it's going to grow like crazy and I'll soon be fed up with it. But it is a beautiful plant and it's going to be really tall up against that background. It's almost form a backdrop of beautiful plants that are going to sort of sway in the current and yeah, hopefully look really, really natural. I think shout out to Joe and Josh, both regulars here, who I think both of them recommended Vallis at the back there, and I tend to agree, so yeah, shout out to those guys. So there, let's add the hydrocotyle and then we can start thinking about filling it up. Okay, so I've just broken the hydrocotyle down into a couple of bunches. I think we've got a nice little crevice down here that we can wedge it in. That's going to break up, because we've got mostly grassy type plants in here. Long thin leaves, and I think this hydrocotyle will just add little accents of a different texture and a slightly different shade of green. I think another one just in here. So these plants all look a bit droopy and sad at the moment, but when the water gets in, they're all going to lift up, be supported by the water. Hopefully look really nice. Okay, we're ready to fill. So I've got the hose in here, I've got this filter floss in here just to help prevent any disturbance of the substrate here. Should stop it from clouding too much and all the plants from floating out. So it's got to be filled nice and gently and nice and slowly, be patient with it. Don't go blasting your hoses, everything's just going to get messed up. So I'm expecting a bit of clouding with this. As I've planted, we've got a little bit of the plant substrate come through. The sand's not going to be 100% free of dust. So as we fill, we'll probably get a little bit of clouding, but overnight the filter will take care of that. So let's do a bit of a hyperlapse and fill it up, see how many floaters we get. So the tank is filled and I'm feeling pretty pleased with myself because it's crystal clear. Hardly any clouding at all. We haven't got the filter on yet, but I'm pretty pleased with it. So obviously, like I said earlier, it's going to be a bit of a slow burner. We're going to wait for all these carpeting plants to grow in. that vallis at the back is going to fill the back and come forward just slightly. When all the plants are mature, we're going to have crypts poking through the rocks. And if you imagine a nice shoal of fish, I have a plan for the fish I'm going to put in here, which should be in pretty quickly because I've got a fully cycled filter ready to go, so we can get fish in nice and quickly with this tank. So the next job is to fit the filter, and then after that we'll be fitting the CO2. We're just waiting for the regulator to arrive from CO2 Art, but we can get the filter on there, get it all up to temperature overnight, and maybe add a few fish if everything's running well in the morning. And there we go, that's a wrap for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed scaping this tank. Took a little bit longer to get completed than I'd hoped, but good things come to those who wait. So yeah, hopefully once it's grown in, we're going to have a lovely carpet of Littorela. The vallis is going to be really filled in. Beautiful shoal of fish. Yeah, so hopefully a really nice naturalistic kind of river, planted riverscape. So let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinions and your thoughts. How could you improve it? What fish would you put in? Did you enjoy the video? Do you want us to make more? We've got plans to make more videos. We've got a few more aquascapes coming to store. We've been waiting on some new products, which is really exciting. We're going to have lots of different layouts. We're going to have black water, high tech, low tech, no plants, immersed plants, all kinds of different aquascapes hopefully in store, which is going to be really inspiring. I'm really excited about it. So yeah, drop us a like. That would be great if you could do that. Maybe share the video, tag someone that you think would be interested. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Riverwood Aquatics on both. Leave us a comment on there, and check out the website riverwoodaquatics.co.uk. Thanks very much for watching. I'll keep you updated on this aquarium as it progresses and grows in, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.